Arthur, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I can see from your coffee cup there, you've got that label on there, you are the boss. But I know this is a family firm, and as a family firm owner, this can't be true, can it?
Well, it's not true really, because effectively I own 40% of the business, my wife owns 40% of the business, and my daughter owns 20% of the business. So I have two female directors in the company who own 60%, I own 40%.
In that case, you're definitely not the boss.
Definitely not the boss, no.
Okay. You and Arch have been around for a fair amount of time. Tell us a bit about you and the company.
Yes. Well, the company, as it is now, started in 2003, in fact, Arch Financial Planning Limited. But really, that's just, it was a change from what we were doing before, because we've been running the business in Cranleigh since 1990, when it was Arthur Childs Financial Services, just in my own name. And we met somebody from the government around 2002 who kind of said to us, well, that's a silly name for a business. Who's ever going to want to buy a company called Arthur Childs Financial Services? And I thought, yeah, he's right. So we changed the name to Arch, Arthur Childs, stuck together, which was a little bit unfortunate for reasons we won't go into now. And we became a limited company because the world was getting more dangerous for financial advisors. So that's where that kind of came from. I left school and became an engineer. I did an engineering apprenticeship, 5 years. I went to university, did an engineering degree. But then really realised it wasn't something I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I think people wake up at certain times in their life. It wasn't a midlife crisis, I was about 22 at the time, but decided that it wasn't really something I wanted to do. And my wife was very helpful in this because she actually got me fired from my last job by writing to the head office and saying, something was going wrong in the company. It wasn't my fault, something was going wrong, and only she knew about it, so they kind of fired me for that, which was great. So I joined Imperial Life in 1970, which was last century, and I've been in financial services ever since, really.
Right, and centred in Cranleigh. What is it about Cranleigh?
Well, we moved to Cranleigh. I'd been with Imperial Life for some years, and we decided to move to Cranleigh in 1976, it was actually, and we just moved to this area because Imperial Life had a head office in Guildford,
yes,
and so we moved here to be with them, and Cranleigh, which fell in love with it really. My little daughters, as they were then, we came to Cranleigh to have a look round. We went into the little cafe, and she wanted an ice cream, and they brought it out in a little saucer. She'd never seen it like this in Wales, where we come from. So we just fell in love, and it's been a wonderful place to bring up three girls, really.
Yeah. Well, it's a lovely place. A lot of clients in Cranleigh, or are they
we do have a lot of clients in Cranleigh, although they have moved, as people do, because they tended to be younger people at the time. They've moved all around the country now, so we have clients all over the country, and in fact in different parts of the world now as well.
Right.
But we still get newer clients from Surrey generally.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned Cranleigh, lovely place, and I can empathise with that. Great place to bring up a family.
Yeah.
And how do those clients find you? So you're not on the high street any longer.
No.
You're here and.
Well, we're never really on the high street because we're kind of off the high street before. Technology is a big thing for us.
Right.
I fell in love with technology. I had a job once before we set up our own business, and I moved into the office of the person who'd left, and there was a computer on the desk. And I sort of said, "What's that?" Shows how old I am. And they said, "Well, it's a computer," but he didn't want to take it with him. The company bought it, so I learnt it, and from then on, I fell in love with it. And so. I just love all the technology and all the stuff to do with it. Websites, emailing and all this sort of thing is just great, really.
Right. So website, social media.
So yeah, getting new clients. We tended not. We get referrals from existing clients. We have a lot of clients, but in the main, the new clients are now coming via the internet. We've actually running 13 or 14 websites at the moment. One main one, and then we have lots of little thin ones which are just one topic. So we take a topic like care fees funding, and we have a care fees Surrey website or something. And this is where we get a lot of our clients from, and they tend to be the sort of clients that we're looking for, because with all the changes in financial services, we can't just go and service everybody now. We really have to concentrate on those who really need our services and can afford to pay for them.
Right. You mentioned changes in financial services. I can empathise with that. So there's talk at the moment that across the UK there's this lovely thing called an advice gap where people are unable to access independent advice.
Yeah.
Your views on that? Is that
Well,
correct?
Yeah, very much so. We try and help everybody, but helping nowadays is often saying, you don't really want to pay our fee for this. You can go to X, Y, Z, or you should do this, or go online and do this. So we are turning down quite a number of potential clients now that we would have seen before. We have had to move because we're now working on a fee basis, even though those fees can be taken from a client's investment, but it's directly sort of in the face of the client. This is how much we're charging.
Yes.
Therefore, because we need to charge a certain amount each year to look after a client, we've had to say to clients who are not going to earn us that much, well, if you really want us to look after us, we're not only going to take the money from your investment, but we're also going to have to bill you. And really, with the amount of money you've got, this really seems not worthwhile. So there's a whole group of people now, and I would identify it as people who've got less than about £100,000 to invest or in pension funds. We really can't look after them very properly now. We can have a go, but if they want to sit down and have an annual meeting and so on, it doesn't work. What we're tending to do is say to people who've got £50,000 or £60,000, well, what we'll do, we'll have a telephone call with you once a year. We'll find out if anything's changing, and if it has, or something big's happening in your life, certainly we'll come and see you. But otherwise, we leave it this year, and because we can't afford to do anything else, really.
Right, and can't afford because somehow the cost of delivering
We
this
can't. We've worked out the cost. I mean, it's strange, isn't it? We've been in business 23 years now, and it was only a couple of years ago when RDR was coming in, we actually worked down how much it cost to deliver our services to anybody, and I'm sure we weren't alone in that. And having done that, we've realised that it's a lot more expensive to deliver what we deliver than we thought it was. So a whole tranche of our clients were not profitable at all. And you can't run a business when you're not making a profit. I mean, with the best will in the world, we can be really, really cheap. But if we're going to go out of business next year, that doesn't help our clients.
Absolutely.
So we worked out to the nearest we could what we thought our annual cost should be for having an annual meeting with a client, for sending them 4 reports a year on the investments, etc. We worked it all out, and we came up with a figure. And then, of course, we've got advisors working for us, and those advisors, if they're going to charge that figure, they're not going to earn that much themselves and so on. So the whole negotiation, talking through with our team, and we ended up with a figure we thought, well, below that, and that comes out to something like you need about £100,000 a year to pay a reasonable amount of your investment for us to cover that. Certainly we could take a much higher chunk of somebody's investment, but if we start doing that, you've got to ask, are we really adding value?
Yeah.
Would they not be better off just going online and doing something themselves? Yes. Although we can add a lot of value, there is a limit to how much somebody should pay for that.
Indeed.
Really.
So what does the future look like then for both you and for consumers of financial services in the UK?
I think for the financial services industry, as it were, and unfortunately, although I'm looking at retirement at some stage, I still can't call it a profession. I'd love to, but I really, as I see it, it's still an industry to me. And looking from our point of view, I think it's very rosy. We have more and more wealthy people in this country. Who are being shunned by stockbrokers and so on because they can't afford, unless you've got £500,000 plus, So lots of people with £250,000 and so on around want to invest it, and there are fewer and fewer of us. There are not many young people like Martin coming into the business, and those that are coming in do not want ownership of businesses. They just want to work for a company. So it's difficult to see quite how it will grow, and there are more and more clients, and more wealthy clients. So I think from our point of view, it's great. I wish I was 32 again. I'm a bit older than that, because I can see a really good future. From the client's point of view, for those clients who are in the right bracket, i.e. they are earning £80,000, £100,000 a year, they've got capital, 100, 200,000 or more, that's fine. For the average person living in Cranleigh, really, they've got a problem. They haven't in one sense because they've got 2 of the best IFA firms in the country in Cranleigh
Absolutely.
on their doorstep. And of course, if somebody walked in off the street and said, I've only got 10,000 to invest, what should I do with it? We wouldn't throw them away because they're just local, they've come in, we could spend some time just to explain where to go, what to do with it.
Yeah.
But if they were some miles away, we couldn't. So I think there is a problem the government's got now, and I'm not sure how the industry's going to tackle it. Vast tranches of people who really cannot get advice because we as an industry can't afford to do it for them anymore.
Right. Just a final question, really, around all that learning. All those years in the business. What one thing would you do differently if you were 32 again? What would it be?
I think when I look at the way our business has gone, I'm not really a businessman, and I think a lot of IFAs are not businessmen, independent financial advisors. We came in as a professional person and our business grew. I mean, I started working from home in my front room, and then a lady came along who was a neighbour and said, can I come and work for you part-time? And I said, yes. Then an advisor came along and said, can I come and work for you? And it grew, and then we moved out into offices and so on. It hasn't, looking back, if I was setting up the business again today, I would be much more, less diverse in what I was doing. I mean, we were all things to all people.
Right.
And I think really, I would sit down and say, well, where is an area of the community that we could really work with? What are the people who are natural together that we could work with? And I think that we've identified those kind of people. And we're working with some of them. But really, if we worked exclusively with those people, it would have been much more profitable for us, much better service for them. And it would have been obvious, and also we'd have had a lot less advisors and a lot more back office staff. That's what we really needed. Originally, I thought we'll build a team of advisors, which we did. But really, if you've got the advisors without the back office staff, and really good back office staff, then you can't support them well enough, and then gradually they leave over the years. That's what's happened.
Right.
So I think, again, if I started again, somebody gave a magic wand, it would be, let's identify a target market very specifically, very narrowly, and we'll only work with those people, and everybody else we'll introduce to somebody else.
Yes.
That would be the difference, really.
Yeah, okay. You and I could probably talk all afternoon about this subject, but we've reached
should.
just 10 minutes in, so I think if you just turn the camera and say who you are and where you are and the name of the firm, that'll finish it off quite nicely.
I'm Arthur Childs, Arch Financial Planning Limited, based in Cranleigh.
Thank you.